So some people say, this theory, I mean, how can Voldemort just accidentally make a Horcrux? I mean, we know through the books that you have to mean your spell. But maybe, first of all, maybe it was a non-verbal spell. And also, Voldemort's soul, he just killed James Lilly, so his soul would have already been split and ready to be directed into whatever object he chose. And at that point, he was casting Avada Kedavra, and Harry is the chosen one. So it's not outside the realm of possibility that that's how the Horcrux was released and Harry was made into one.
The reason why I think this stands is because he does have a scar on his forehead, which is the same as the one on the ring. It's never been explained. It's the same one on the ring. So, and what was it Hagrid told Harry back in Sorcerer's Stone? He said to him, Voldemort left a mark on your forehead, but it was never really explained. Does Dumbledore?
We think that Dumbledore might have had an idea that Harry is a Horcrux because we think, some people say, well, why wouldn't Dumbledore reveal that information to Harry? Isn't that obviously something that would be useful to him?
Why wouldn't it? It wouldn't.
But see, the problem is we think that Harry doesn't act very rationally. So we think that Harry wouldn't think it through, would isolate himself from everybody and decide that, well, I have to go. He would decide that.
But isn't that he doesn't act rationally, it's just that he puts other people above himself, so he get rid of himself.
But he also really doesn't act rationally. Like, he just kind of just charges headfirst into danger in the way any Gryffindor would. But frankly, I mean, I'm not hating on Harry here. I mean, we run a Harry Potter website, but if I was alive in the Wizarding world right now, and I knew that the future of our species depended on Harry Potter defeating the Dark Lord, I wouldn't sleep soundly at night.
And also look at Book 5, where Dumbledore didn't want to talk to Harry about all of this because he didn't want to scare Harry. He didn't want to make Harry feel any worse than he already did. So imagine Dumbledore then telling him...
It wasn't only that, though. It was that he had to isolate himself from Harry because Voldemort, he thought that if he isolated himself from Harry, that Voldemort would be less interested in trying to control Harry's mind. That was part of it.
But Dumbledore does only tell Harry information on a need-to-know basis. Every book he sits him down and says, I'm going to tell you everything, and then he doesn't. So, I think Dumbledore knew what he was doing by not telling Harry he was a Horcrux. Harry could do something very rash if he knew that there was a piece of his archenemy's soul inside of him.
He definitely would do it. You think he would do it, right? He's the hero. He wants to save the day.
Yeah, of course.
So I'll sacrifice myself, I'll apologize for Ron, Hermione, and my...
But if you take the prophecy to be, worded as it talks about Harry, then if he kills himself, then he couldn't then go on and defeat Voldemort.
Well, that's
sorry?
That's true.
Well, I don't know, because wouldn't the sword just go straight through his neck?
But if all the Horcruxes are destroyed, except for Harry, and then he has to kill himself, isn't he still defeating?
He'd have to take Voldemort down first.
Yeah, so like down first. Oh.
But nowhere in the prophecy does it say that one must live if the other survives. I mean, one must live if the other dies. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So both could die, and that's not... Isn't like one has to live, the other has to die. But enough Horcruxiness.
Well, no, in 9 days, isn't that weird?
Huh?
Well, no, in 9 days, isn't that weird?
Can I move
You guys are wrong.
Yeah,
What's
we're
gonna
wrong.
happen?
We're wrong.
What's going to happen?
Blame us for making predictions like every other Harry Potter fan does.
Stand behind this. It's so strong.
We have good evidence, though. I mean, you can't deny the evidence is there. It's just, there are a few gray areas. I can see it. I mean, the more and more we've done these book tours, it's almost like I've convinced myself more and more. Because, like at first we were both kind of like, we don't particularly subscribe to this theory, but Harry might be a Horcrux for these reasons. And then by the end of our book tour, we were saying, yeah, he's definitely a Horcrux. Like, don't you question me. Our attitudes quickly evolved about Harry being a Horcrux.
It's because we've now put this theory out in front of thousands of fans in cities all around the country, and we've never heard, and every time we do it, we usually get at least one more piece of evidence that supports the theory, and we've never heard anything that can actually disprove the theory, so we've just added more and more evidence.
We had a few scares, though. We did an event in Paramus, New Jersey, back in March, and this lady in the second row says, yeah, and Half-Blood Prince Slughorn says that you have to mark that the Horcrux is made after the death. And we're like, oh my gosh, we just published a book about this. Whoops. And then we whipped out the book and we actually told her, you show us right now, because she made an outrageous claim and then she couldn't find it, so that was a scare. But enough Horcruxes for right now.
I want to bring out a point which I think is the best theory I've ever heard in my life, and I've been asking everyone about it just because I think it's so good. In the prophecy, it says, the one with the power to vanquish the Dark Lord approaches, yeah? As in, he approaches because he's being born soon. But, right at that moment, Snape is walking towards the room, because obviously he overhears the prophecy. So I want to know what people think about it being Snape that has the power to vanquish the Dark Lord.
No. Here's how I think of it. I think in the sense that Harry is the one who ultimately is going to be, who's actually going to kill Voldemort, but I think that Snape is going to assist in that. And in hindsight, once we look at the prophecy, we're going to think, oh, Joe is hinting at this there. I don't actually think that Snape is the one who's born as the seven monkey eyes. Yeah.
So wait,
Right.
at the end of it, just to show my complete lack of knowledge here, right at the end of the prophecy, it says the one with the power to vanquish the Dark Lord is born as the 7-month dies.
It says approaches also.
Sorry, it's 7
But at the end, yeah,
It says,
at the
the
end.
one with the power to vanquish the Dark Lord approaches, will be born as the 7th month dies. I don't know.
Wasn't there
I call
a
myself
theory
a
that
fan.
said...
It says approaches at the beginning and then it,
means someone who's
yeah.
actually walking.
Yeah, but that's what we were just saying.
Okay, sorry. My bad.
Someone's out for lunch.
No, yeah, but, okay, well, that's just completely shut down. But I still think it's so awesome.
What do you guys think about Snape? How about show of hands? Show of hands. Yeah. Raise your hand if you think that Snape's working for Voldemort. Raise your hand if you think that Snape is working for the Order of the Phoenix. Raise your hand if you think Snape is working for himself.
Oh my god.
Raise your hand if you think Snape is working for the Giants.
Raise your hand if you think that Snape is a huge slimy git, no matter who he's working for. Raise your hand if you're tired of raising your hand.
I've always thought with Snape, he's like, you've had two classes of people. You've had the amazing wizards and witches who, like, you know, are above everyone. So you have Voldemort and Dumbledore, who, you know, they can only face off against themselves because they're more powerful than anyone else. And then you have sort of like one class down, and in that class is Snape.
Yeah.
It's Snape.
And I think Snape is the third most powerful.
He's the third most powerful. Like, all of the other teachers are, you know, they are powerful as well. But Snape is, sorry? It is a scary thought, but I mean, he's working for himself. But if I assume everyone thinks here that Harry's going to win and good is going to triumph over evil,
Right.
Well, I hope you all think that.
And I think Snape is perhaps one of the most clever characters.
He is,
in the book, because if you think about it, I mean, if regardless of who he's been hoodwinking, whether it's the good side or the bad side, or if he's hoodwinking both of them at the same time, that's absolutely incredible because he's fooling two of the greatest wizards of all time. And if he managed to do that somehow, that's pretty amazing. But we think that in our book, we reached the conclusion that Snape is working for the Order of the Phoenix. Now, there's a scene when Dumbledore dies, and by the way, he is dead, okay? So, I don't want to hear anything about Dumbledore making Horcruxes. I don't want to, we've heard it all, folks.
So I quote J.K. Rowling, Dumbledore is
Definitely
dead. You cannot wriggle around that. That is pretty explicit. Okay, go ahead.
So here's the scene. Dumbledore, he's laying there incapacitated. He's hosed. I mean, there's Draco, and Draco's tasked to kill him because early on in Half-Blood Prince, we hear Narcissa Malfoy